This is the Rational Wrestling Mark. So, I want to talk about Trick Williams and Jey Uso and how both guys are proof that when a wrestler is over, they're hot, they got momentum. It's proof that you got to capitalize on their momentum while they're hot. You got to strike when the iron is hot. And that's what the WWE did when it came to Trick Williams, Jey Uso. Now, of course, with Trick Williams being in NXT, Shawn Michaels being smart to capitalize on his momentum. There is no question that Trick Williams is the most over right now in NXT. Now, when it comes to the main roster, arguably you can say Jey Uso is the most popular, right? Some will say Cody, some will say Sami Zayn, LA Knight. I think for the most part, when it comes to like LA Knight and Sami Zayn, they have definitely cooled off. But right now, Jey Uso ain't losing no momentum. He is still hot. If you saw his match with Damian Priest at Backlash, that crowd was rowdy for Jey Uso. They were ready for Jey to become world champion. And I said to myself when I watched that match, it would not be a bad idea taking that belt off of Damian Priest. No disrespect to Damian Priest, but Jey Uso, man, he's like Jeff Hardy over, like Jeff Hardy 2008 over at this point. But at some point, they're going to give him that World Heavyweight Championship. It's only a matter of time. But there's no question that he is the most over. And Trick Williams, when he gets to the main roster, I see him having the same effect. The crowd is going to love him. He's going to be one of those guys that come from NXT and they do well, extremely well on the main roster. Because some guys who come from NXT, they don't have a good transition. Usually they don't. There's only a select few success stories from NXT to the main roster. And I think Trick Williams, when he comes to the main roster, he is going to be a success story along with Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes. And that's your future right there, right? But the crowd is going to be loud for Trick Williams. I mean, whoop that trick chant, that's going to be on plenty of t-shirts. That's going to sell a lot of merch. You got to even get Booker T on commentary. When Trick gets called up to the, either Raw or SmackDown, you got to have Booker T on commentary because that's what makes his entrance work. His entrance is nothing without Booker T. You know what I'm saying? It's like both guys, and Jey Uso and Trick Williams, they have something unique to their entrances that makes it different, that makes it more entertaining and makes it more engaging. There's a lot of crowd engagement when it comes to Jey and Trick. Like even with Pat McAfee doing the whole yeet dance with the whole crowd, doing the whole the little hand gesture, the whole like hand gesture that Jey does, right? You got Pat McAfee doing that too. Booker T doing a whole little what thing, kind of giving his theme song some lyrics, adding something to his entrance. And my main point is whenever someone is over, you got to strike when the iron's hot. And see, when we were under the whole Vince regime, yeah, he did push guys that were over that got hot, right? He did strike while the iron was hot for a couple of talent, but he didn't do that with everyone. There was many guys that were getting over, and Vince, for some reason, did not want to push them, did not want to give them, you know, any attention. It's almost like a guy would get over and he would just ignore it and pretend like they weren't over. And the crowd would be begging, begging for this guy to get more TV time, to get a push, to at least get something so that we can get behind him. With Triple H, Triple H isn't going all the way with Jey Uso, but he is aware that Jey Uso is a hot act right now. And he knows that at some point he's going to have to put the world title on Jey Uso. That let's only hope that his stock doesn't drop, right? Let's hope that he doesn't lose momentum, that he continues to maintain his momentum into the summer, into next year, you know. And if you wait too long to pull the trigger with someone, they will lose the momentum. And you saw that with countless wrestlers where they gained some steam and the company for some reason was not behind them. So, and they wind up just crashing out. All right. And I'm glad that's not happening with Trick Williams. That's not happening with Jey Uso. I'm not saying that Jey exactly needs the world title, but for him to get over the way he has, he should be rewarded with a title. And I said before in my last talk that Sami Zayn was not the right guy to beat Gunther. If we were not going to do Sheamus, Sami Zayn, or consider Chad Gable, if you know, if we just somehow knew that the whole Jay and Jimmy match was not going to live up to any expectations for WrestleMania, we would have just had put the title on Jay instead of Sammy, because Jay Uso was still getting over. So you award him with the Intercontinental Championship. But man, this guy has been screwed out of title match after title match. I mean, it's only a matter of time until he gets his big break. And when I look back at guys who were, they were building up some steam, some momentum, and the crowd seemed to get behind them. An example of this is Montez Ford. Montez Ford was getting really over last year. And when he was in that chamber match, man, he was the star of that whole entire match. But for some reason, it just seemed like they weren't doing nothing with him. Like there was nothing being set up for him to get that big push that people were talking about. I mean, last year, people were talking about Montez Ford breaking out. He never did. And at that time, Trick Williams wasn't really gaining steam, you know, and Jey Uso was still in the bloodline. So it's crazy to think that these two have really broken out into their own, and they're the most over in the whole entire company. I mean, when you think of crowd engagement, even commentary engagement, for your entrances and people are loud, that says a lot, you know? And it still maintain their momentum, their stock, you know. Hey man, that's really impressive. But for Montez Ford, you know, he was hot for a little bit. And it seemed like that was going to be the case where Montez was going to break out from the Street Profits, kind of separate them and make Montez a star. There's a lot of people predicting that, but it never happened, you know? And one reason I can think of that not being the case was due to the rise of LA Knight. LA Knight started getting over in the summer, and it seemed like, okay, well, Montez Ford got to be pushed aside. You know, you can't have so many breakout stars. You can only have so many breakout stars, at a time. And LA Knight was just breaking out on his own, right? And now, how they really struck when the iron was hot with LA Knight, not really. I mean, will they give him the US title at some point? Yeah, but that's going to be a while. It's the question is, what would you do with LA Knight now? On the build up to that eventual match with Logan Paul at SummerSlam, because we're only 3 months away from SummerSlam. So what do you do with LA Knight in the meantime? And see, this is why with Jey Uso and Trick Williams, their momentum is not going to stop. Like their steam is not going to slow down anytime soon. If you keep Jay in the mix, now that Jay's in the King of the Ring, I'm predicting that he might be King of the Ring. I'm predicting that it could be him and Gunther in the finals of the King of the Ring, and Jay will win. That's what I'm predicting. I'm predicting Jey Uso will be your King of the Ring winner of this year. You know, and I think the way Trick Williams is going right now, I think he might have a long title reign. But I got to give Shawn Michaels credit, man, for striking while the iron is hot with Trick Williams. They didn't do that with Montez Ford, and look where Montez is at, still in the tag team division. You know, by now, Montez Ford could have broken out by last year. He became tag team champion multiple times. Okay, it's time to move up. You know, I feel like had LA Knight not gotten any over or hasn't gotten any steam behind him at that point, I feel like Montez would have been breaking out. And he's capable of getting over. It's just, will they give him the time? Will they present him in the right way to get him over? Is the question, which they really haven't done a good job of doing that. It was his performance inside the Elimination Chamber last year that got him the momentum for that short period, and it just fizzled out. So this goes with any up and coming talent. Even the recent draft picks. You got Ilya Dragunov. He could wind up breaking through and getting over. And you got to strike while the iron is hot once again. If the crowd is fucking with Ilya Dragunov, then hey, it's time to get on board, you know? And I can see him not being mega over, but, definitely getting decent reactions. And it's all due to his character work. Like, it really comes down to his character work if he'll get over or not. Because with NXT, they respect great wrestling, right? Because it's the same audience every week. With Raw and SmackDown, it's a different audience. It's like it's not the same fans every week. You know, it's mostly casuals. There's not hardcore wrestling marks in the crowd. So with Ilya Dragunov, it may take him some time to get over. and to connect, you know? But yeah, that's all I want to say when it comes to this topic. I mean, you know, who can you name right now that's more over than a Jey Uso and a Trick Williams? I wouldn't even say Sami Zayn. I would say Sami Zayn last year was hella over, mega over. But this year he's cooled down, and especially with him being Intercontinental Champion and him kind of leaving from that underdog role. I said it before, his steam has not been lost, but he's definitely losing some, right? He's lost some momentum. When he's in the chaser position, he's more over. So Sami Zayn has cooled down completely. But people have been saying that since last year. I was like, nope, he's still over to me. He's still mega over. But now that he's Intercontinental Champion and now he's basically on top of the mountain, it's like it's not a good position for him because he should be chasing that world championship. That's the right spot for Sami Zayn, right? But yeah, you can say Cody, but man, judging by that backlash crowd in France, the most over was Jey Uso. That's for sure. Can't no one tell me it wasn't Jey Uso the most over because he was. You know, these guys are just mega over to no matter what they do. And they are proof, these two are proof that you have to strike while the iron is hot. So that being said, thank you all for watching. Make sure y'all like the video for the algorithm. Subscribe for more content. This is Irrational Wrestling Mark with another edition of Rational Wrestling Talk. And I'm out.